The billionaire who hated Christmas. Haunted by loss and betrayal, he built an empire of ice around his heart, until one blizzard night changed everything. When Alexander rescues a poor single mother and her young son from freezing to death in the snow, he never expects them to break through the walls he spent a lifetime building. As danger follows them and the past comes knocking, Alexander is forced to face his deepest fear, loving someone enough to stay. This powerful, emotional Christmas story explores sacrifice, healing, second chances, and the courage it takes to protect those who depend on you. From a desperate rescue in a snowstorm to a life-changing act of love, this story reminds us that even the coldest hearts can be warmed by kindness, and that family isn't always born, it's chosen.
The blizzard came without warning. Snowflakes the size of feathers slammed against the windshield, turning the mountain road into a tunnel of white. Alexander Drake, billionaire, CEO of Drake Global, the man newspapers loved to call the Ice King, tightened his jaw as he navigated the storm. He hated this season. The lights, the songs, the cheer, the fake togetherness. Christmas had taken too much from him to ever deserve forgiveness. He was on his way to finalize a lucrative last-minute deal, another distraction from the time of year he despised, when something flickered in his headlights. A figure, then two. A woman stumbling along the frozen roadside, clutching a small boy to her chest. She fought the wind with the last of her strength, her thin coat whipping wildly behind her. Alexander's heart slammed into his ribs. What the? Then she fell, just collapsed into the snow, the boy tumbling with her. Alexander's instincts took over before his mind could protest. He hit the brakes so hard that tires skidded across the ice, and he threw open his door. The cold punched him in the face as he sprinted toward them. "Hey, can you hear me?" he called, dropping to his knees beside the woman. The boy, maybe 6 or 7, was shaking violently. Mom?" he whispered, tugging her limp arm. "Mom, wake up!" Alexander swallowed, feeling something old and painful twist inside his chest. He pressed 2 fingers to the woman's neck. A pulse, weak but there. "Come on," he muttered, scooping her into his arms. He gestured for the boy to follow. "Get in the car, now." The boy obeyed without question. Inside the warm vehicle, Alexander laid the unconscious woman across the back seat as the boy climbed in beside her, wrapping his tiny arms around her waist. "Is she going to die?" the boy asked, eyes filling. Alexander felt the words hit him like ice water. "No," he said firmly. "Not tonight. Not on my watch." As he pulled back onto the road, the boy whispered, "We were trying to walk to the shelter, but Mom said the storm was coming faster than she thought." His voice broke. Alexander's grip on the steering wheel tightened. He shouldn't care. He didn't get involved. He didn't do emotional entanglements. But he couldn't stop glancing at the rearview mirror, at the small boy holding on to the woman as if she were the only thing keeping him alive. And something about that, something about the way Eli held her hand, stabbed him with a memory he tried to bury every Christmas. He blinked hard. No, not now. But fate had already pulled him there, into the story that would melt the billionaire who hated Christmas from the inside out. If you were driving through a blizzard and saw a mother and child collapse in the snow, would you stop? Share your honest thoughts in the comments. Your answer might inspire someone else watching. If emotional, life-changing stories like this speak to your heart, make sure to subscribe and join our community. Each week, we bring you stories of hope, healing, and unexpected miracles. Alexander sped through the storm toward the nearest rural clinic, the heater blasting. The boy kept rubbing his mother's hands as if trying to warm her back to life. "What's your name?" Alexander asked, keeping his voice low. "Eli," he stuttered, "and my mom is Clara." "Eli, how long were you out there?" The boy's big brown eyes dropped. "We left early this morning," he swallowed. "We walked all day. Mom gave me her scarf and gloves, said she didn't need them." Alexander felt something sharp clamp around his heart. He knew hunger. He knew cold.
The boy nodded, and for a moment, just a flicker, something warm passed through Alexander's cold, lonely December night. Then Eli noticed something. There were no decorations hanging from Alexander's mirror, no red ribbon on the dashboard, no tiny tree on the console, just cold glass, steel, silence. Eli tilted his head. "Mr. Alex?" "Yes." "Why don't you have any Christmas stuff in your car?" Alexander's jaw tightened. "I don't usually celebrate." Eli frowned. "But everyone celebrates Christmas." Alexander gave a humorless breath. "Not everyone likes Christmas." The wind howled through the night as Alexander and Eli pulled into the long driveway of the Drake estate, a sprawling mansion sitting beneath towering pine trees dusted with snow. The gates opened at Alexander's command, their iron bars groaning like ancient guardians. Eli pressed his face against the window. "Whoa," he whispered. Alexander suddenly felt self-conscious. His home, cold, precise, and spotless, was never meant for children. It was silent, too silent, like a museum of loneliness. When they stepped inside, the staff looked stunned. Alexander Drake with a child. But they said nothing. No one dared question the Ice King. "Prepare a warm bath and a guest room," Alexander ordered. "Yes, sir," the butler said quickly. Eli tugged on Alexander's sleeve. "Is this all yours?" Alexander nodded. "And you live here alone?" "Yes." Eli looked around with sad, wide eyes. "It's really big for just one person." Alexander's chest tightened unexpectedly. He cleared his throat. "Come on, let's get you warm." The boy followed him upstairs, glancing at paintings and long hallways with a mix of awe and confusion. Once in the guest room, the staff helped him wash up and change into warm clothes. When he emerged, hair damp and cheeks rosy, Alexander was waiting in the hallway. "Hungry?" Eli's stomach growled in reply. Minutes later, they were in the vast dining room. A small boy, a billionaire, two souls who never should have crossed paths. Dinner was quiet at first, until Eli asked the question Alexander had been avoiding for years. "Why do you hate Christmas?" Alexander froze mid-bite. The question shouldn't have mattered. He could have ignored it, brushed it off, changed the subject. But Eli's eyes were too honest, too knowing, too familiar. "It's complicated," Alexander said finally. "Did something bad happen?" Alexander looked down. "Yes." Eli nodded slowly, as if he understood more than a child his age should. "I don't like Christmas much either," he murmured. "Mom tries to make it nice, but it's usually just another day we try to survive." The words were soft and raw, and Alexander felt them like a punch. Before he could respond, his phone buzzed. It was the clinic. He answered quickly. "How is she?" "Stable," the nurse replied. "But she keeps murmuring your name." Alexander blinked. "My name?" "Yes. She woke up briefly and kept asking about her son with the man who helped them. She sounded grateful. Gratitude, a foreign word to him. I'll bring Eli to visit in the morning." When he hung up, Eli looked up with hope. "Mom's okay?" "She's awake. She asked about you." The boy smiled for the first time. It was small, but it was enough to warm Alexander's otherwise frozen night. That was the moment everything shifted. The moment the cold... Alexander's mind shifted into sharp focus. He was a businessman, a strategist, a protector of his empire. And something about this story didn't sit right. And despite himself, Alexander felt an unfamiliar instinct rise, to protect them, to uncover the truth, to face whatever shadows were following Clara and her son. Eli's voice pulled him back. "Alex? Yes? Do you think my dad is trying to find us?" Alexander looked out at the snowy mountains. "No," he said firmly. "Not while I'm here." Eli nodded, trusting him completely. And Alexander realized he meant it. The next morning, Alexander found Eli already awake, sitting cross-legged in the living room, staring at the giant Christmas tree that his staff had decorated despite his yearly protests. It glowed softly, gold, warm, bright. Eli whispered, "It looks like a storybook." Alexander folded his arms. "I don't usually keep it lit." "Why not?" Eli asked. 1,000 memories pressed against him like icy waves. "Because Christmas isn't my thing." Then Eli's voice brightened. "But this one looks like it's smiling." Alexander almost laughed. Almost. Before he could respond, the butler rushed in. "Sir, there is an urgent situation." Alexander's guarded expression returned instantly. "What now?" The butler swallowed nervously. "There's a man outside the main gate demanding to see the boy." Eli's head snapped up. Alexander's blood turned cold. "Describe him." "Tall, dark coat, hood up, wouldn't give a name. He says he has legal rights." Eli went pale. Alexander's voice dropped into a tone that could freeze steel. "Take Eli to the upstairs lounge. Lock the doors." The butler nodded quickly and led the trembling boy away. Alexander strode toward the entrance, every step filled with a predator's precision. The security team met him at the door. "He refuses to leave," the guard said. "Claims he's family." Alexander's jaw clenched. "Open the gate just enough for me to speak to him." The guard obeyed. The metal bars slid apart, letting in a flash of icy wind. A man stood on the other side, hood low, hands shaking. Whether from cold or rage, Alexander couldn't tell. His posture was aggressive, coiled. "You the billionaire?" the man drawled. Alexander's eyes narrowed. "I am." "Good." The man stepped closer, peering through the gap. "Hand over the boy." Alexander's voice was soft, deadly. "And why would I do that?" "Because he's mine," the man snapped. "Eli is my son." Alexander didn't blink. "You abandoned him." The man smirked. "Not my problem, but now I want what's mine." Alexander stepped forward, his shadow filling the gap. "Let me make something perfectly clear," he said, voice colder than the snow. "That child is safe here, inside my home. You will not touch him. Not today, not ever. Not unless that woman says otherwise." The man scoffed. "You think you can keep her from me?" Alexander stilled. The man leaned forward, voice dripping with venom. "She was stupid enough to get involved with someone powerful, someone who left her knocked up and broke." Alexander's heart stopped. His pulse hammered. The world tilted. "What did you just say?" he whispered. The man's grin widened. "She was seeing some fancy businessman, rich, heartless, gave her hope, then threw her away like garbage." Alexander's stomach twisted. No, it couldn't be. The man continued, enjoying every second of the story. "Clara thought he'd save her, thought he'd take care of her, but he pretended not to know her when she told him the baby was coming." Alexander felt the air leave his lungs. "She begged him," the man laughed. "Begged, but he didn't give a damn." Something sharp and painful cracked open inside Alexander's chest. "What was his name?" he demanded. The man shrugged. "Don't know. She never said. But he's out there somewhere, rich, powerful, cruel." Alexander's throat tightened. Rich, powerful, cruel. Everything he was, everything everyone assumed him to be. Now hand over the boy, or I'll make her sorry again." Alexander's patience snapped like a brittle twig. He slammed the gate shut so hard the metal shook. "Security," he commanded. "I want cameras doubled, guards doubled, and this man off the property permanently." The guards rushed forward and seized the man, dragging him away as he kicked and screamed. "You'll regret this," the man roared. "I'll be back. She's mine." Alexander's hands trembled. Rage, guilt, fear, all tangled inside him. He raced back inside to Eli, who clung to him the second
His father walked out, suitcase in hand, after promising a holiday together. Alexander had run after him, barefoot in the snow. "Dad, you said we'd be together tonight. You promised." His father didn't turn around, not once. Alexander had stood in the yard, shivering, waiting for a goodbye that never came. That night, the boy inside him decided something dangerous. Never love anything again. Never need anyone again. Love was a trap. Attachment was a wound waiting to reopen. Clara was right. He didn't know how to stay. He had built an empire because empires couldn't abandon you. He had lived in cold, glittering isolation because no one could hurt you if no one got close enough to try. But Eli had crawled into his chest like a tiny flame, lighting places he thought were dead forever. And Clara looked at him with a tenderness he didn't deserve, a warmth he didn't understand, a hope he didn't know how to hold. He slammed the brakes. The car skidded, tires screaming against the ice, sliding sideways until it jerked to a stop on the side of the road. His breath shook. His hands trembled on the steering wheel. "I can't lose them." The admission slipped out before he could stop it. He let his head fall back against the seat. "I don't want to disappear," he whispered into the empty car. "Not this time." It was the first honest thing he'd said out loud in years. He reached for his phone. His hand hovered. Call Clara. Tell her he was sorry. Tell her he wasn't his father. Tell her he wanted them, wanted a life where he woke up to Christmas lights and laughter instead of silence. But before he could dial, his phone lit up with a frantic call. Eli. Alexander's chest seized. He answered immediately. "Eli, what's wrong?" The boy was sobbing, gasping, terrified. "Alex, help!" His voice was shaking so violently it barely formed words. He's here." Ice filled Alexander's spine. Who's there?" The man," Eli whimpered. "He came back, and he said he's taking Mom and me." Alexander's heartbeat roared in his ears. He threw the car into gear. The wheels spun wildly, snow flying, then caught traction. "I'm coming," he said, voice low and deadly calm. "Stay hidden. Do you hear me? Hide, Eli. Do not come out. I'm coming for you right now." "Okay," Eli sobbed. "Okay." The call ended, and Alexander drove like a man possessed. The clinic parking lot was chaos. A security guard lay unconscious in the snow, blood staining the white ground. The glass front door was shattered. Inside, nurses were crying and shouting, trying to hide patients, barricading doors with chairs and carts. "Sir," one nurse yelled when she saw him sprinting inside. "It's him, the man who's been stalking that woman. He broke in. He has a knife." Alexander didn't wait to hear more. He charged down the hallway, past terrified staff, past rooms where patients peeking out in trembling confusion. Then he heard it. Clara screaming. His heart exploded in his chest. He sprinted to the private room where Clara had been staying. He burst inside. The world stopped moving. Clara was backed against the wall, trembling violently, clutching her injured side, to when the man from the mansion was grabbing her arm, dragging her toward the door. Eli was across the room, trying to pry the man's hand off her with his tiny fingers, sobbing. "Let her go," Alexander said. His voice was quiet, too quiet. The man shivered. "Well, well, the billionaire comes to play hero." "Let her go," Alexander repeated. The man smirked, pressing the knife lightly against Clara's throat. "Make me." Clara whimpered. Eli screamed, "No!" Alexander stepped forward. The man pressed the knife harder. "You think you can take what's mine?" Eli suddenly lunged again. "Leave my mom alone!" The man shoved him. Eli stumbled, hit the side